Your Highness, for this speech. We have now enough time for Q&A. It will be done in English. Who starts? Please introduce yourself. I start from the left, 1, 2, 3. Then I move to the center. Please, 1, 2, 3.
Your Highness, thank you. First of all, I'm the ambassador of Kuwait, I appreciate your attendance here today.
Sound micro.
I think if we have mic, okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I appreciate, of course,
Speaking in the microphone.
being here today to listen to your experience, actually, after a diplomatic career. And unfortunately, we are in a situation, as you said, I can just say it's a catastrophe situation where we are in the region, actually. So I really would like to know your view from where we should start, actually. And how do you see the future?
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. First of all, I am speaking in my behalf here. As you know, I am a retired guy, so I will speak more freely than usual. I believe that there is a lot of challenges facing us in the region. And instead of putting the blame all with our ally or our friends in Europe or in America, we should put the blame in ourselves. I think the problem comes in the Middle East, first of all, or in the Arab nation, that there was 40 or 50 years, same leaders lead the big countries. If we take Iraq, if we take Syria, if we take Egypt, and can go all over the Middle East. And these regimes and these leaders, they wake up in the morning and they just ask, what is the security situation in the region? Who's challenging? Who's making the voice, against the government? And that was the main thing. They did not wake up in the morning to see how many jobs they created more, what they did for their people in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of technology. There was a young generation coming, and everybody was facing this by trying to avoid the development and develop more the security sector. And I believe our big problem in our region is the security sector. We build the security sectors more than what we need. And the result, what happened, and what they call it the Arab Spring. And after all revolutions, even if you take Europe, there is always chaos happening. And this chaos takes sometimes 100 years, I hope not. But if we take the case of 4 or 5 years of chaos in the region, for what these leaders did, from damage is not a lot, in my opinion. But the problem in our region is still the leaders, even the new leaders, they cannot sit together and accept each other. They cannot accept each other's ideas. And as long as we will not accept the other ideas, I don't think we can add the value in the relation between the Arab nation. First of all, we need the Arab house to be repaired. And to repair the Arab house, it is not only politically, we need to do it economically. And we need to help each other. There is a very rich Arab country, and there is very poor Arab country, and there is corrupted Arab country, there is less corrupted Arab countries. How we can bring everybody together and to try to have the right diagnosis for our problem first. We need to make the right diagnosis so we can solve these problems.
Next question.
Alexander Christiani, retired Austrian ambassador. Your Highness, I'm very positively impressed by your candor as far as your last words are concerned. You started off your talk by Daesh. I'd like to know, in concrete terms, what does the state of Qatar do to fight Daesh? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I think I understand your question very well, and I understand that my country, among the Arab countries, they announced to be part of the coalition against Daesh. But also, if we need to fight Daesh, we need to know the cause of this problem. The cause of it is what happened from the beginning with our ally, biggest ally, is United States. When they came to Iraq, I remember I saw Paul Bremer at the time before he went to Iraq, and I told him I have two things to tell you. He came and he said, I want to know what is your advice. So I told him, okay, I have two things. I hear about that you want to dismiss the army and ban. Don't do that. If there is 5,000, 10,000 bad Ba'athis, take them out, but don't dismiss all the army. So this army went and created Daesh and all other things. And also the Sunnis, they feel that the other Shia take over all the countries. And this is the discussion and the dispute between us and the United States from the beginning, that we need to create the balance in Iran. You know, I always think that the diplomacy, the Iranian diplomacy, is a very clever diplomacy, and they are very intelligent people. And from all the mess happen in the region, they take advantage, and I don't blame them. That's, you know, I have to salute them, in fact, about what they did. In fact, I'm not against the Iranian. I always, my voice saying that we should have a good, excellent relation with Iran as a neighbor country, as a big country, as an important country. But United States always consult with us after the problem, after they do the mess. Then they come and they say, okay, let us sit and try to find a solution. And that's our problem with them. And I think sometimes your problem with them here. They are our ally. We are friends with them. I'm pro-United States. I have a lot of friends. We talk to them. I know all of them. But I always tell them, consult with us before you start the mess. And as a big elephant, when they move, even if they think that they are dancing with us, they break our legs. They break our trees. And they call it's a minor, okay, we try another solution. And we try the third solution. I think what we need, not to fight only Daesh. There is Daesh and there is other, we forget Al-Qaeda, because the worse, now we went to the other category of worse. We need to fight, yes, but we need also to see the problem. As I said, we need to sit an Arab nation, and we need to be more effective in Daesh, fighting Daesh. I think the Arab nation does not do what they should do to fight Daesh in Iraq and Syria. But also, part of this, because in Syria, when things start peacefully, first year there was no Daesh in Syria. There was civilian people which they need to get to change the regime. And we did not help them. And they crossed many red lines, the government in Syria, and we did not help the poor people. And then the radical people, they come and they say, we'll take care about the job, we'll kick Bashar, but in their own term. And now we need to fight them and to fight Bashar. And who's the worst? Is it Bashar worse than them, or they worse than Bashar? You know, so it is a situation we created by wrong policies. This situation might be.
Please.
Hello, أهلا وسهلا في محمد ورمضان كريم. My name is Fadi Shorta. I am oil and gas expert and analyst on political risks. I was preparing a few questions, but again, because I am Yemeni, the issue of Yemen came across all other issues. So I would start, like we say in Arabic, عتاب محب. I would ask, do you think that GCC countries did deal with this mass population in Yemen? The relationship between Yemen, GCC countries are quite different, because you hardly can distinguish between Yemenis people from the other countries. And if you go around the world, you maybe find in each country people who are complaining about immigrants, for example. But if you go to any country in the Gulf area, you'll see them welcoming Yemenis. So do you think that GCC did not do enough? I mean, it will be unfair to undervalue the support Qatar, for example, gave to Yemen despite the corrupt government and endless failures. But do you think GCC could have done much more for Yemen?
Well,
Thank you.
I think you answer part of the question. There was a corrupted government in Yemen. And I remember when we meet as a GCC and we want to do help more for Yemen, we find that it's loose cannon. You know, it's like a bag which it's open from. You put something here and it falls out of it, and you know better. I remember when the state of Qatar wanted to do some project, and we was fighting not to give them money to do the projects, and we did 4 roads. Each one of them almost around 200 to 280 kilometers. It took us 10 years to finish because there was a fight. Every few months they start, break the equipment, steal the equipment, make fire on the equipment because we did not give the government money. We did it by ourselves. And we said, that's it, we cannot do any more project because we was only working for that 3-4 projects. I believe GCC could do more for Yemen, yes, but if they have the right government in Yemen. So it's a both way. Both of them, they have to be, I hope now we find, although I think that this situation might last long time in Yemen and in the Middle East. I think we are not in the middle, we are in the beginning of a chaos in the region. And this chaos cannot be solved before that the Arab nation come together and they start to talk wisely.
My name is Michael Reinbrecht. I'm a former also retired official of the European Parliament. Coming back to Daesh, Johannes, do you see any possibility of a political dialogue, or is there only possibility of military means in the future?
Thank you.
Well, I think you need both. You need the military, and you need also to negotiate with the wise, if there is a wise people with Daesh. But you need the military action. But I'm not satisfied with the military action now because I think there is no tuning in this military action. And the government in Iraq, they cannot fight because they are not fighting for Iraq, they are fighting for part of Iraq, and that's the big problem we face.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your interesting day with Your Highness Sheikh Hamid. I have for you subject for peace between Arab Gulf and Persia. Allow me this explain you in your Arabic language. سمو الأمير، أنا أعيش هنا في فيينا من حوالي 30 عام. أريد أقدم لكم اقتراح أن تبنوا في قطر معهد للسلام يكون اسمه معهد السلام بين الخليج العربي وفارس، الوسموك، فريرو بالنا وآل ثاني. لماذا؟ لأنه جنوب السودان، مشكلة جنوب السودان تم حلها في فيينا. ألبان كوسوفو تم حلها في فيينا. سود تيرول، جنوب تيرول تم حلها من فيينا. فيينا فيها تراديشن راقي جدا في العلاقات الدبلوماسية والتفاوض، لذلك أقترح عليكم تأسيس هذا المعهد آل ثاني الوسموك فريرو بالنا من قطر، ولنرى ماذا سوف يحدث. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much. As you know, I'm an individual, I'm not in the government. So if this move needs to be done, it has to be done either, is it between governments, is it between private? But anything for peace, I know my country is welcoming this.
Your Highness, as for European auditors, you began nevertheless with the Israeli-Palestinian problem, which is in a certain way at the core of whatever the world speaks about the Middle East. Which, after the censorship towards Israel, what would be the lesson or the advice you would give to the Palestinians for doing their homework in order to become, let's say, something like a partner for a strong partner for real negotiations? What would you propose to the Americans to tell the Israelis, and what would you tell the Palestinians? Because otherwise there is a stalemate of everyone looks at each other and is waiting for the messiahs.
Well, thank you very much. It's a very good question, and I will be very frank by answering this. First of all, as we know, the big factor in this dispute is the American. The American is having their own opinion with the Israeli 100%, which I respect and I understand why. I believe in peace, and personally I suffer from doing this because I was talking with the Israelis and talking with everybody about the peace. But I believe in peace. If we are talking between the Palestinian and the Palestinian, when there is governments being elected, Hamas being elected first time, we've been pushed to let Hamas, we are in Qatar at that time, pushed to let Hamas to be part of the election because the American want that from us, and they sent us to ask us. And when they've been elected, the next day they say, no, we don't want Hamas. So the problem is how, first of all, to let the Palestinians work it out among them. They cannot work it out because the Israeli doesn't want that, the American doesn't want that. So if we leave them, I'm sure they will reach a solution among them. And when they reach a solution, you will have a strong partner to talk about peace with the Israeli. Both parties, the Israeli and the Palestinian, they have no choice except going forward to the peace. And we know the solution by now. And we know what is United Nations and Security Council resolution by now. We should not be clever about this. We know the last solution being done by President Clinton, and which it is also, I think it's the right base to conclude in the peace issues. Both sides cannot wipe from the map the other parties. And I always tell the Israeli, look, maybe you have little wiser now. You will have young people which they will come one day and they will say that no, we don't want Israel, no more, no 67 land, no 48, no Israeli, they have to go somewhere else, it's belong to us. This might come, and this will bring the chaos again to the region. Right now there is some wise people, they want to solve the problem peacefully, according to the United Nations resolution and Security Council, but the Israeli want a discount in that. They want a discount in the land of 67. Swap for 1%, 2%, I think this is possible. But otherwise, you cannot tell the Palestinian, any leader, to sign something different than that. So I believe, for the sake of less wars in the region in the future, is to have early solution for the Israeli-Palestinian issue.
Please, you have the floor.
Charles McKay.
You have to ask the Russian why they didn't block.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. President, Ahmed Kanan from Syrian Opposition Party. I'd like to ask you to talk about Iran and how it's diplomatic is clever. You think it's clever when they send soldiers to Syria to fight the Syrian people innocent, and they ask Hezbollah to involve in Syrian situation. and kill the people. This is the dilemma of this diplomatic.
I will tell you one thing.
Okay, thank you.
You have to, when I say clever, because we are not doing our part, the other part. Yes, they are clever. When Syria need them, they send army to Syria. They send thousands of their army or other people, and they give the right weapon. While the Arab is hesitating up till now, some Arab countries, they are hesitating to help you in Syria. We suffered because of that. We was trying to help, and there is some others opposed, Arab opposed. Not because they oppose because they don't like you. Maybe because they don't like Qatar. Maybe. But what is good now, the situation among the GCC countries, it's much better than before. The understanding between Saudi Arabia and Qatar now is much better than before. And I think I have a hope that this will work out the situation better. But yes, they are clever because in all the problems in our region, they always have advantage. In Iraq, in Syria, in Yemen, in Lebanon, in Bahrain, in all our region, in Africa. Look after 11th of September. They have a reason, and I appreciate what happened in America was unaccepted by all means in any reason. What happened because there has been innocent people being killed for no reason. And we cannot be the judge to kill or not to kill people. So I'm opposing that. And I've been there maybe 1 week after 11th of September, and I saw the chaos, what happened in the United States. But after that, which I also appreciate the reaction of the American, stop giving anybody any aid. So we stop in Africa, for example, doing a few things for the African country, poor country, I mean, to dig a well or to build a hospital. Who's take over? The Iranian take over. Which, you know, we don't have a dispute with the Iranian. Personally, I believe that there is, the future is to work together with the Iran. But that's the problem. They have a policy and they have a target. We don't have a target. And even if we have a target, we change our target between time to time. We change our ally for no reason sometimes, just because I don't like him or he doesn't like me. That's the problem we have.
Peter, thank you.
Hello. May I ask you a personal question? How do you see the political and social development of the Near East in the next 10 or 20 years?
That's a very tricky question.
No.
I want to tell you, I think what I see, there is a lot of challenges, let me put it in a diplomatic words, a lot of challenges in the region for the next 10 and 20 years. Unless there is a really a big turn in our attitude and our way of thinking, in our policy in the region. But the challenges is there. You think Yemeni problem will be solved next year or the year after? We will have a failure state, like what we have in Syria, failure state, we will have in Iraq, we will have in this, and all this will bring more Daesh, will bring more radical people, and you will end fighting with us, a war which we don't know whose we are fighting. If there is somebody to fight with you, because you never know what's going on. And all this because of mistakes from the beginning happened, how to deal with the problem. Look, we went and you know, do things, unnecessary things, in areas, and where is something necessary we did not take it. We know, for example, if we take Syria, we know Bashar for many years. He have Al-Qaeda and he have these people of Daesh, they are under his arm, and he keep them, and always we try to ask him. They say this guy is in Syria. He say, okay, where? Find him. We will arrest him when we find him. And these people will stand by for this moment, for the chaos. And whenever he feels that he is in a challenge in this power, he put more people in the ground for you. And then you will find, okay, maybe better to deal with Assad than to deal with Daesh. And that's the policy which is happening now in the region. So 10, 20 years, let me put it this way, I'm not optimistic.
But Johannes, maybe the question was also a little bit about the vision in the region. You know that around 2.5 or $3 billion are to be invested, especially in the Gulf countries, to build up a better future. So this is something which interests us really as well.
I want to tell you one thing. I believe if we take all the Arab countries, at the moment, there is very few countries stable, and very few people or few countries did something. Among them, the GCC. The stability in the GCC is important for, it is only the hope for the Arab nation, which can bring the Arab nation together. And let me tell you, not all what the GCC did is right. There is wrong, but if you take a percentage-wise, the development, what they did, you'll find that big percentage being done for the people of the GCC. At least the people in the GCC, they have jobs, they have house, they have hope, they have school, they have hospitals. Of course, this is their right to have it because it's a rich country. This is the minimum right they should have. But at least, and most of the country, they have the right reserve. You will tell me all what they did right? No, we did a lot of mistakes, but we did much greater things than the mistakes. The stability, the unity in the region. This development in the region, we believe now it's not completely rely in the oil and gas. And part of it, we feel that it's the duty of the governments to continue the plans which have been done aggressively by most of our countries. For example, my countries, they are going to spend around $200 billion, most of it for the infrastructure. It is needed. I don't think they will slow down now with the oil price because this is something need to be done. And if you compare this in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Emirates and all other countries, Oman, Bahrain, you will find the same. So I don't want to say, but we have a hope there. But also we have a lot of challenges there because around us the fire. And now it's getting closer and closer and closer.
Thank you.
Your Highness, my name is Pinkas Javed. I'm into sustainable development and sustainability, but my question would be different. My question would be in something that was not mentioned yet, but is in effect today front page news in the papers, the soccer debacle. Now, the way how I understand it, the football players did not like the climate and did not like the timing of the games. And they also do not like for having become a commodity and something that is not a sport anymore, but is a business. It is from them that this issue was stirred. And my question to you is, do you think it was right for Qatar to contend in getting those games?
Let me answer you in two levels. Personal level. I don't like the football play. And I will tell you one thing. I don't understand it. Not only that. And sometimes when I go somewhere else and they ask me the question and try to be polite and to try to answer some questions, then within less than a minute I find that I'm answering the wrong questions, talking about wrong games. And I remember I was with one of the prime minister in the region here in Europe, and he was talking about last night game. And he told me, did you see that? And I was trying to be polite and nice and to say yes. And after I thought that there will be problem. And I told him, look, I I did not see the game, I never see the football game. I don't like so that's the first and personal. The weather, the issue of the weather, it was there when Qatar submit the file of Qatar. I'm not spokesman of the situation, but I'm talking about my personal opinion. So the situation was there from when they submit the file. I think the region now feel that you as European and as American, as all the other world, that you don't accept that an Arab Islamic small country to do this event. That's the normal people take it in that way, and you think that this is an insult for the play. That's my own reading. And I think this is wrong. If we are talking about peace, if we are talking about hope, if we are talking about bringing everybody together, if we are talking about terrorists, that this is the right things to do something in the region in that occasion. If you are talking about why Qatar, why other country have it. So you have the same. If you have a country with also cold weather, more cold weather, it's like the hot weather. And I think there was a technology being proven about the weather and how they can deal with that matter specifically in the stadium, if I remember and I get it right. So that's my answer.
Thank you. Please.
سيد المغرب السيد الشيخ اولا احييكم في فيينا وبعد تحيه محبه وود وتقدير اريد ان اعبر لكم عن انطباع شخصي. تحدثتم عن تعاقد عن تقاعدكم، ربما يكون تقاعد اداري ولكن بالانصات اليكم التقاعد الفكري ممنوع عليكم خدمه لقضايانا العربيه. السؤال الأول: يسود الاعتقاد هنا في فيينا بأن الأطراف التي تتفاوض بخصوص الملف الإيراني تقول طال الزمان أو قصر هناك توجه واضح إلى اتفاق. وكلنا نعلم كذلك أن في إطار المفاوضات إيران رفضت رفضا باتا قاطعا أن يصار إلى التعامل مع القضايا الإقليمية. فسؤالي: فيما إذا حصل اتفاق فهل لمجلس التعاون الخارجي من بدائل كيف سيتعامل مع هذا الموقف الجديد، علما بأن كما تفضلتم بأن الآن العلاقات مرفوعة بعدم الثقة. سؤال ثاني: هناك حديث الآن كثر في الأيام الأخيرة أن احتمال قيام داعش كدولة حقيقية، لأن الآن تسمي نفسها دولة نحن نسميه تنظيم إرهابي. هناك حديث أن هناك احتمال في قيام نظرا للمقومات التي تتوفر عليها هذا التنظيم من إمكاناتها إلى آخره. فهل لدولتكم أن توضحوا للحضور أن دولة من هذا القبيل مرفوضة عربيا، وما هي الموانع الجيوسياسية التي تمنع هذا الاحتمال صعب ويستحيل تحقيقه على الأمد القريب؟ شكرا.
عفوا، أنا ببدأ بالسؤال الأخير قبل السؤال الأول. طبعا دولة مثل هذه أو غيرها مرفوض تماما. I'm speaking English, I'm sorry. State of Daesh is not accepted in the Arab world by any way and any mean and any measures. That's something we should fight it all. And I always say we should fight the Arab more than our allies. We should put the acts together to fight Daesh and all the others, not asking somebody to help us. We need some technical help, but we need to do that by ourselves. That will show the seriousness of fighting Daesh. If we talk about the Iranian file and the negotiation which happened, part of it in Vienna, I believe that solution will be reached, in my opinion. There is some countries in our region before they believe that there will not be a solution. And maybe I'm one of them. I was thinking there was no solution. Now there will be a solution because the agreement, which according to what I know privately, that it is not bad for the Iranian and for the American and the European. It's only delaying the process a few years until to see what will happen. I believe technology have to be for everybody, for Iran and for everybody to have the nuclear technology, but according to the rules and the international law. Behind that, if there is anyone think about nuclear weapon, that means the region should have a nuclear weapon, in my opinion, to have the balance. I believe, if I am an advice taken from me, if the Iranian have it, we should have it. That's if we are scared to say this, I think that's not a good policy. If we don't want to say this publicly, that's not a good policy. We have to say it publicly and we have to do it to have a balance. And that will lead to a race in the region of a nuclear race. In the Arab world, around us, and then maybe, if it's with wise people, it's okay. But sometimes, in our region, you have crazy leaders. So, might use it. So, that's the problem which we have. So, it's a big challenge, big things to be done. The other solution is to do war. I don't believe this is the right thing. I am against any military move against Iran, for example. But I believe that we should, as a GCC and as Arab countries, we should prepare ourselves for the worst.
Please.
His Highness, I'm a simple Austrian citizen, like equal to a Qatari Bedouin. And
thank you.
I know the country. I have a company together with Sheikh Mohammed from Rashid Al Maktoum from Dubai, and he's always talking about visions, and I miss the vision for the whole Arab world. And in an Arabic tradition, I brought a small gift for you. One is a sweet one in the colors of Prophet Muhammad. The second one is a nice book, a new book from Karen Armstrong from Oxford University about religion and the history of violence. And the third one is a great idea of Qatar, which I give you after the talk here, that you don't leave this beautiful country with empty pockets. But now to the question. The question, I always hear war, military strategy, fight against ISIS, and that will be the future, and we have to do that. We all know that the old Saddam Hussein soldiers will be the strength of ISIS today. And I miss one thing, the intellectual war and intellectual weapons against the real interpretation of Quran. And because they only take this opportunity and talk that they have the real interpretation of Quran. And in this area, there are the great philosophers of the Islam, Al-Ghazali or Jalal al-Rumi. I've read them all. And these people, they've been 1,000 years ago. And there you can find real answers of, to this kind of speech what the ISIS do. So I missed it, and what do you think? Is there any possibility to start on the modern emotional way of internet and web over the traditional one with books and newspapers to take that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's a very complicated issue, and also in the Islamic world, to interpret the Quran, everyone interpreted it according to what he thinks. And that's a big problem we face now. If we go to the true Islam, it's the way how you behave with other people, if they are Muslim or not Muslims. Unfortunately, we take the bad things, and that was the example which Daesh and the other tried to do. How to fight that? By raising our head and talk, frankly, and say this is Islam, this is not Islam. But now there is a lot of fight, a lot of things among the normal, even in one belief, let us put it, in the Islam. There is a dispute which is the right, which is not right Islam. You know, so for me, it's a complicated issue. Who's put us in this situation and we left all the life and we are talking about who's right and who's wrong? Who you are to say that I'm right or wrong? God should say, okay, I have to behave in a civilized way, but that's all. So, in my opinion, we are the Bedouin, less educated even in the religion, believe me that.
Bitte sehr, nächster.
أهلا وسهلا in our country. My question is, what can we do for President Morsi?
Well, I said in my little word that I think what being said in the court in Egypt is not fair, in my personal opinion. Of course, the fear of Egypt is the fear of the Egyptian people. But my opinion, this is not the right solution, and this will not lead for a peaceful Egypt. I hope peaceful Egypt, strong Egypt is important for all of us in the Middle East. It's the central of the Middle East. It's the biggest country in the Middle East. It's a very important country. And I believe that a dialogue between all the parties in Egypt is important to get out of this. There is no way that you can take people by court out or by police force. Even if you do it, you will do it temporarily, but it will not be effected in the long term.
Please.
Your Highness, you mentioned GCC and the development of these countries over the last decade, which definitely is very mind-boggling and merits admiration. But allow me one little provocative question. Why has it to be based on such poor labor conditions? Because I'm sure that even with better conditions, it would still be a success story.
You know, labor condition, it's, I cannot say it's 100% right. But I cannot say that you being treated Qatar fairly among the other countries in the region. I think Qatar is doing a lot in terms of law, in terms of action with the labor. Nobody knows that Qatar, from more than 10 years, if the labor does not take his salary in the right time, that the lord, which he does not pay him the salary, if you want to call him lord or his employer, he will be in jail immediately with no court case. He has to pay the salary. That's one thing which we suffer. The housing for the labor, their resident, it's been a lot of improvement, a lot of cities been done now, and it is, you cannot build this in one day, but it is being planned more than 8 to 10 years. And it's under construction, some of them already ready, and some of them underway to be ready. There is special conditions, special agreements with all these countries. But this was part of the football phobia that came. You know, this news only came, you take care about the labor, it's to attack Qatar, why they have the World Cup. It was the labor, one day is different other things. So it is kind of the attack which we feel it's not fair attack. But I, one of the guy which believe that the labor should live in the right condition in Qatar or in any other countries, because that's at least which they deserve.
Final round, additional question. Please, one and then me. Please, here. Michael is coming from the right side.
Thank you very much. I would appreciate very much just to bring one issue, being myself a Sudanese, being aware of the role which Qatar is playing in Sudan, and Sudan is a member of the Arab League, in terms of the conflict, the political conflict in Darfur particularly. What is your assessment of the situation after all the efforts which you have made, and what, from your perspective, should be done to solve these problems which on the ground they are still there? Thank you very much.
Well, I think, you know, I worked hard for many years in this issue, and I think we came to a better understanding of the problem. I think the problem is less development in Darfur. I think we need the development. Qatar did a lot in that part also. But we need all the international arena, the Arab countries, to make a development in that part. Unfortunately, what we learn from that dispute, that some Arab countries, they feed the problem by giving money to each tribes to fight each other because they don't want it to be stable. And I don't want to mention which countries from the Arab countries doing this. But that was what happened. You know, the problem is us. It's not somebody else. You know, we discovered that to solve the problem in Darfur, we have to pay some tribes because they need, either we pay them by war or by peace. You know, each way you have to pay them to keep silent. And if somebody pay them higher than you, then they will go there. And I discovered that we cannot buy them, we should rent them or we should hire them. Some parties, unfortunately. And I talked to all of them. I say, well, this is your country. Maybe this is good to live now. But what about your children? What about your grandchildren? But the problem of all that money, if we put it directly to build school, to build hospital, to build houses, they deserve to have this. And I think there is less development. I cannot blame 100% the government in Sudan. They have responsibility, definitely. But they have less income, you know. What they will do with this income, south and north, you know, there was a problem. And Darfur, there was a problem. Blue Nile, there was a problem. So there is a lot of problem in Sudan.
Please.
I'm Mohammed Zarrouk, the ambassador of Sudan to Austria. Your Highness, your effort to bring peaceful solutions to many problems in the Arab world is highly commended. But I would like to quote one of the Qatari brilliant thinker, Dr. Mohammed al-Misfar, who said the problem for Qatar diplomacy and peaceful approach in the Arab world that the lack of strategic thinking and planning in the Arab world. Because since 1967, the Arab world is reacting to crisis. No planned strategy to face many challenges. Just for example, the problem now in Yemen, I think it started more than 60 years ago. But Badruddin al-Houthi tried to be imam in Yemen in air before the revolution in the 1960s. So, since you left the government and the official posting, are you able to help the new generations in the Arab world to be well educated in order to give the advice to the politicians to avoid reacting to political crisis?
Thank you. In my personal capacity, I did a foundation, and this foundation is doing only education and health. And we are doing this in many countries at the moment. But that's in my personal capacity, and I don't announce this because that's my way of doing it. But if we go to the problem of lack of strategy, all the Middle East have lack of strategy. And what Qatar did is trying to help as maximum as they can. But the problem was the challenges in the region. You know, now it's better environment in our region to whose will help whose, especially among the GCC. There is a lot of goodwill or good environment, and I would like to thank the Emir of Kuwait for bringing everybody together in this. I have to say this. But I am more hopeful in the GCC term than the Arab term, in my opinion. But we don't need strategy more than what we need a good faith among the Arab countries, among the leaders actually. You know, they talk nicely, they announce nicely, and everyone when he left, he put the knife in the back of the other. That's what happening in decades of the Arab world. And maybe it's part of our culture, I don't know. But we have to find a way how to deal with each other in different way, and to put in front of us, you know, the benefit of our children.
This is what we learned in Europe. We had to learn after bitter lessons. Two questions. One is, could you comment a little bit on the decisions of the G7 in Elmau, so to say, end of the century, getting rid of all the fossil energy? This is one question. What does it mean for the region? And the second question, what would you expect from the European Union? Because the Mediterranean Sea, the northern part of Africa, the Middle East, this is our neighborhood policy. And what would you expect from the European Union?
I think if I start from the European Union, you need to be not only a donator. You are the biggest donator for our region. But you are less effective in terms of policy and in terms of term. And this is also, again, you need also to open the chain from your hands and to do it differently. If you are more effective financially, you have to be more effective politically. That's the first thing for Europe. And this will put you in different environment with your neighbor. You have Africa, you have the Middle East, Asia, Middle East near you. And I think even in terms of commercially, you can do better, because it's a very close link between you and the Middle East. That's the first thing. The first question?
Energy.
Yeah, energy. Energy, you know, there is an, you know, error for any kind of energy or any kind of metals. History let us learn that, you know, the iron error, the gold error, the oil error, the gas error, if you want. I remember 10 years ago, everybody running for us to want to buy gas and liquid gas and secure contract. Now we have to run after them for securing a contract. That's, in my opinion, the market and the nature. And we have to deal with the market accordingly. I'm not sure within 10 years that there will be no carbon or no oil, but I'm sure it will be less independent in that. I'm sure we'll be less independent. There is many other alternatives, and that's the nature, in my opinion.
Johannes, thank you very much for this impressive speech and the Q&A you have accepted. Thank you so much.